Once the fear was gone, it was just business as usual. One foot in front of the other.
Albeit slower, but.
Like 2 steps, you're like, all right, I'm going for 3 steps. You're like, 2 is good enough.
Stuff for sure, dude.
Hey, buddy.
Margus.
Kenny.
Long time.
Every year we kind of scheme up one big adventure.
We've just been trying to top it every year.
Yeah.
Well, how can we make it bigger and harder?
It's the story of the ultimate adventure, in our lives at least. I got a phone call from Kenny one day and he's like, I got it. Tupungato, 21,500 feet. And I was just like, okay, buddy. I looked it up on Google Earth, had a quick scan of the area and I'm like, we're locked in, buddy, this is it.
It had everything that we were looking for.
The goal was to get over 20,000 feet with each of us carrying our own bike up there. We knew that there was a previous attempt on this volcano with a European expedition, and I think they failed at 18,000 feet. I mean, my expectations going into the trip was I thought we had about a 50% chance. My workouts before the trip, I was just going on long bike rides, basically. Kenny, he was off the couch once again.
Well, he says off the couch, but I'm surfing a lot, still biking, and it's like I'm not that good at surfing, so I'm always kind of drowning a little bit. So I guess I'm just not getting that much oxygen. So it kind of just helps with the altitude.
All right.
This is it.
Yeah, I mean, for gear, with the whole addition of alpine gear for the cold temperatures, so we had to bring like an extra warm, super puffy, I guess.
Yeah.
Kenny had puffy pants. We were both at the boot store together and Kenny's looking at all these lame looking boots and we're like, no, you can't get those. Those look ridiculous.
Usually run like a 40, 50 liter backpack and you could get 10 days of food in there and some gear, a couple spare parts.
It's all kind of personal preference.
Dental floss, it's always a nice touch. You know, bit of a luxury item.
I think after we bought the stuff, we also realized that we really do need a donkey to carry all the extra gear. Maybe we could have pulled it off, but
it would have been tough.
Probably have to put a little seat bag on the back of your seat.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Hey, Diego, is it going to be hard to get up there?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Diego Marin.
He was really a key piece of the success of this adventure for sure.
I don't think we would have done it without him. The valley was blocked by a mining company, which apparently only lets you in if they like you.
Diego really came in and was like, oh, you don't need permits. I got this Arriero, Ismail, who's a total beauty. He didn't speak English, we didn't speak Spanish.
I think we were smuggled into the valley.
I don't really know.
We had a kind of a planned approach that we were gonna go to Ismail's cowboy hut for day one.
Yeah.
Gonna be about 6 or 7 hours. Day two, we were gonna do another camp. And then day three is when Ismail was gonna drop all our gear at our base camp location, I think, which was at 15,000 feet. So we followed that plan pretty much to a T.
Dos cervezas, por favor.
And we have Corpus Religioso. There's the top, not that far now. Or is it? We don't know.
We're coming from sea level, so we have everything against us right from the beginning.
From the outside looking in, seeing videos of guys at altitude, you're wondering why they're moving so slow, but when you actually get up there, it's, man, I really can't move fast. I feel like my heart's gonna blow up.
And you don't know until you get there and actually experience it.
The first effects of altitude, I mean, for me, it was probably when we got to Camp 2, which was, I believe, at 13,000 feet. I had a headache that night, which was a little worrisome, but it went away after about an hour. Managed to get a few hours sleep, and then Kenny took Diamox. I decided against it because of my previous experience using this drug. It's you lose feeling in your extremities after a couple of days of being on it.
Over 4,000 meters. Oh, 12.5 or something. It's hard, it's getting hard.
Hiking with the bike has almost grown into a science. There's a technique to picking up your bike. There's a technique in terms of how you place the bike on your pack so you can carry it with no hands. But the altitude plays a role in terms of how fast you can move and how heavy everything feels.
It slows you down like exponentially.
How was today, Margus?
Today was a tough one. We had to pull up camp from, 1,000 feet below and set it up, and then we had to go, according to my watch, 6,000 feet up to 18,000 feet in a little bit to leave the bikes in preparation for the peak assault.
Summit day was day 8.
We knew we had the one weather window. It was like, if we don't do it on this day, it's not gonna happen. We couldn't sleep that night. Our initial plan was to leave at 1 a.m. for the summit push, but we ended up leaving at 10:30 at night because none of us could sleep.
And there was no wind. Like, it'd been windy for like a week, you know? And then it was like 10 at night and it wasn't windy and no one was sleeping. And I was like, maybe we should just go right now. We left too early, and then we got to this glacier that we had to climb up with crampons, and it was too risky to climb it in the dark. So we essentially had a couple hours to kill. It was so cold up there.
Some big rocks there. We should all fucking huddle up in there, dude. I couldn't feel any of my fingers. I couldn't feel my toes. I didn't bring the Expedition Puffy with me because I didn't think it was needed.
Diego and I had like the real big puppies.
So both those guys were basically hugging me. I was in the middle and I still wasn't warm enough. I'm like, well, we can't sit here. We're gonna get hypothermia.
We just walked around for 2 hours.
We basically gave up.
That was probably the biggest hurdle of the whole trip.
That was the point that we talked about before where, hey man, it's not gonna be physical. You're gonna have to get past that spot in your mind.
We got up to turn around after cuddling Margus. We're like, fuck, well, let's just go back to the tent. And then Diego was like, how you doing, Kenny? I'm like, I feel great, it's all good. And we just like turned like a school of fish and just kept going back up and walking around.
In my mind, I had made a conscious decision that if I lose a finger or a toe, I guess I'm okay with it. As soon as the sun came up, everything changed. At that point, I knew we were gonna summit. We had 2 of these ice fields to climb.
You're just like hanging your bike up on stalactite things. You're like, okay, and then like pull yourself up.
My mind was definitely not working. It was the biggest chore for me to take my camera out of my backpack and try to take a photo. I don't know if it's like lack of oxygen or what it was, but you're in kind of a weird dream state.
Well, we started at 10 o'clock yesterday. And I don't know what time it is. We're almost at the top. I'm super tired.
Once we reached the fall summit and didn't see the peak yet.
It was the first time for me that I felt like I don't have anything physically in me to keep going. At one point, climbing up there, the whole slope kind of gave away from me and I totally slid down.
It was like the toughest thing ever. It was like the toughest moment. He's just like carrying his bike. He just slid backwards for like 10 feet and kind of fell. And then just like didn't swear, didn't say anything, just like kept going. I was like, oh yeah, let's fucking get it.
The last 50 feet for me was the craziest because some kind of energy within me propelled me the whole 50 feet to the summit. Kenny and Diego came up, they were hugging me, and I'm like, don't hug me, I'm gonna throw up all over you. Reaching the summit, I've never had satisfaction like that. Like, I mean, the birth of my kid, and then this.
I think it was the most accomplished I've ever felt standing on a peak.
It was the first time I've ever cried at a summit, like full tears coming out, and I just couldn't keep it back.
Yeah.
I was just basically blindly shooting whatever I could at that point. We were up there for probably, what, five minutes maybe?
It's 4:30 or something. I'm like, we gotta get out of here.
Oh, yeah!
We were able to ride like
Pretty much all the way down to base camp.
Oh.
Like, it was pretty gnarly ride, but we actually rode with our hiking boots on.
it was just as good as I saw on the internet in my mind months before.
On the summit day, we made it all the way back down to base camp at 15,000 feet. We rode downhill for 2 days. Probably some of the best riding I've ever done in my life.
Big sweeping turns through just like beautiful glacier land. And we had oxygen again. I was feeling like $1,000,000.
We got a few really nice shots, and then it was back to, okay, we got to get down to our camp, pack up. It was pitch black all the way down to base camp.
We didn't even eat dinner that night. We all went straight to bed. And then the next morning we had a coffee, and like Ismail showed up, and he's a beauty. He's all like, yeah, you guys made it.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, buddy.
Great birthday.
Yeah, boys.
It was just like vacation mode at that point.
We're all fired up. We found this big box of wine and just got into that. Some guy was making fresh cheese. We got fresh cheese. We got fresh eggs, potatoes.
First vegetables of the whole trip.
Yeah, and we made this like rad dinner. It started setting in like we did it.
We did it.
Yeah, that was sick. That was In 5 years, what are we gonna be doing?
Probably the same thing.
Just like harder, weirder places.
We'll see if we evolve our trips with age, but right now doesn't seem to be any physical limits yet.
I don't want to jump off 30-foot drops anymore, or like just like you've broken up bones and stuff. But this is still a way to like push yourself mentally, and you know, it's kind of an extended battle instead of like one jump for 5 seconds.
We play a little part in motivating people to go beyond their limits.
Go spend a week out in the middle of nowhere, like pushing yourself and see what happens to your mind. It's good for you, I think.
I think it is. Almost the purpose of our trips is to find if there actually is a physical and mental breaking point, and
We haven't failed yet.